Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There is no invocation tonight. The February 22nd, 2016 meeting of the Bellevue City Council is called to order. Sabrina, please read the roll, or take the roll, excuse me.
Mr. Carmichael.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Cook.
Here.
Mr. Preister.
Here.
Mr. Modry.
Here.
Mrs. Blood.
Present.
Item 2A, the Open Meetings Act. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. A copy of the act is on the wall in the back of the City Council chambers. Item 3A, item 3, approval of the agenda, consent agenda, minutes, and advisory committee reports. Item 3A, approval of the agenda. Councilwoman Blood?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Blood, second by Councilman Cook. Please vote. I vote yes. 3B, approval.
All voted yes.
Thank you. 3B, approval of the consent agenda. Councilwoman Blood.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilwoman Blood, motion. Second, Councilman Preister. Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
Item 3C is on the consent agenda. Item 3D, the annual tree board report. I'll defer to Councilman Preister, please.
Thank you, Councilman Carmichael, and thank you for filling in for the mayor who is attending a conference tonight. I would ask Joanne Langaby, who is one of our tree board members, if she would please come up and give the tree board report. And I would just mention that Joanne has been planting the rose gardens in Everett Park and what at one time was a very nice rose garden down in our river park at Hayworth. She also takes care of the triangle and several of the flower beds and does so even in getting many of the roses donated, many of the flowers and other things, and has done tremendous work. Often you see the beauty, but you don't know the beauty behind who did the beauty. So thank you, Joanne, and we look forward to your presentation.
Great. This is kind of a summary of what the tree board has done through for the year 2015. We had 8 regular board meetings during the year, generally in the summertime when everybody's really busy. We do not meet, so most of the time it's fall through spring that we'll end up meeting. I broke down what we accomplished into different categories through the year. The first one is retaining certification and memberships in different organizations, which is very important as a tree board that we belong to different things. One is the Community Arboretum that the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum sponsors. Second one is Tree City USA from the Arbor Day Foundation. And then we have a membership in the Alliance for Community Trees to help us know what we need to do. Then we created the Community Forest Management Plan through the year. It took a bit of time to get it all finalized. And then we started last year and we are continuing working on the response plan for the City Council and the Emerald Ash Borer. And will be an ongoing process for a little while. Hopefully we'll get it done relatively shortly. We also received a number of grants, and with those grants we were able to plant at least 65 trees and shrubs in the Bellevue City Parks. Then we worked with at least eight organizations. We worked with the Nebraska Veterans Home. We weeded, replanted different plants, and worked on signage so that people would understand their water drainage system. We worked with Pawnee and Chandler View Elementary for Arbor Day celebration, where trees were planted at each of the schools. We worked with the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum in the fact that we got them to sponsor a booth at the Bellevue Medicine Green Health Fair, along with Bellevue having a booth there. With the Bellevue Library, we worked on getting a family adopt a tree when we planted some trees there. In showing movies, providing children programs and books, and then there were 2 butterfly gardens that were created there. With Fontenelle Forest, we've been working with the possibility of revitalizing Jewel Park and getting it to be oak savanna instead of the shrub trees and not so desirable trees. So that's an ongoing project. Green Bellevue provided money for us so that we may label many of the trees in the parks, and certain parks have already been selected, and we're in the process of picking more so that we can label the trees so people as they walk through will know what the trees are in the parks. They also provided money to change the flower bed at Gemini into a butterfly park since the roses got rose rosette, which basically kills the roses. And they provided money to plant perennials at the triangle. We took out shrubs that were blocking people's line of sight when they were driving their cars. And so those shrubs were removed and we planted perennials instead to keep them low growing. And we also had a booth at the Earth Day that they sponsor. Then we worked through the Extension Office on Emerald Ash Borer training and awareness. Bellevue West ROTC organization, their Ecology Club, and with Master Naturalists to plant some more trees in the Bellevue West Thunderbird Arboretum and to finish their windbreak on the north and west side of the school. Members have been continually receiving training and providing education programs. The big education program right now is for the Emerald Ash Borer, getting it word out to the public, providing workshops that they can attend, plus the members on the board themselves getting some of the training. And a number of the members went to a workshop provided by Nebraska Forest Service. Okay. Then, as with the trees in Bellevue, we are continuing to assess the inventory trees. There's over 2,000 trees that have been assessed and inventoried, and we're continually looking at them. The tree board helped prune over 200 trees in the city, been monitoring the diseased trees in the city cemetery, continually assessing the damage that was done by the flood. And then, probably one of the most important is creating the Sandberg Grove at American Heroes Park to honor Dave Sandberg for all the work he's done with the city and trees. For a total of, and we know that this is low because not everybody reports their hours, we have at least 551 hours for the last year, which at $25 an hour comes up to $13,775. Mileage was over 1,000 miles that people drove throughout the year. And then we received grant money and other financial contributions. So for the tree board to provide for the city $23,958. That's just for 2015. Since the tree board's been in existence for 6 years, we've contributed a total of $318,520 to the city. The members that helped compile this and have been very dedicated to working on improving the city are Mariana Anderson, Dave Anson, Graham Earps, Dave Sanborn, Lisa Swanson, Joe Sempic, Thomas Bentley, Craig Kimball, myself, Don Preister, who is our president, Mike Francis is City Parks, and Jim Keepers, who's with Gretna Tree Board. Are there any questions?
You did such a good job, there are no questions.
That's good.
We just appreciate what you've done. I would just add, of those over 2,000 trees that have been identified and categorized with the state help in 2011, we did the condition. 20% of our canopy of trees in our parks are in poor to bad condition. So 20% of those probably need some help. And of those also, 20%, we have a high concentration. It's one of the top 8 of the species in the city are elm trees. So,
Ash trees.
I'm sorry, ash
Ash
trees,
trees.
yes, that we need to be concerned with the emerald ash borer. So those things will be dealt with in the plan that the tree board is currently putting together. Those are only trees in city parks. We also have forested areas that have not been surveyed. Those forest areas like Jewel Park and the park that's 2B over by the Veterans Home hasn't been surveyed. And we know that there are a lot of trees in both of those parks that may need some assistance. Plus, we will have all of the street trees, which were never inventoried, the right-of-way trees, and on personal property that we're gonna have to deal with. So we've got a massive undertaking, and with the tree board's leadership, we will get a draft of that to the council and to the employees to go over, respond back, and then the final plan with that input will come back to the council. And we hope to have all that input and everything finalized by the 1st of May.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. We will move on to item 3E, the annual Complete Streets Citizen Advisory Panel Report. I believe Councilman Preister will take the lead on this also.
Yes, I will, and thank you, Councilman Carmichael. I won't take a lot of time on it. We do have 2 of our members. I saw Donna Dostal here earlier, and Lynn Rollins is here, who will come up later. But if they want to add anything to what I say, please come forward and do so. The purpose of the citizens panel is to help provide information to the council. They are an advisory body, and their purpose is to help make our city streets safer and to help where we have connectivity issues. AARP, the Association for Senior Citizens, is very concerned about elderly people having safe access across streets, through intersections, and being able to move around the city. Obviously, schools and parents are concerned about how their children move through the city and where there are sidewalks and connectivity for those children. So those issues, the safety issues, and good planning so that we save money. Oftentimes, people think of complete streets as costing money, but a complete street doesn't have all users, all access on every street. It just provides that we do better planning so that all streets have some consideration given to them when they're done in a 1 or a 6-year plan, so that it's done initially rather than having to go back and retrofit. So it's an important element for cost savings to the city, connectivity, and connecting communities. And the citizen panel, because they're members of the public, are out there, they hear from people, and they can provide their input. I would just mention that the contribution is a little lower than the tree board, but their volunteer service contributed was $4,372 this year, and a total cumulative contribution of $32,500 since they have been in existence per the city council and an ordinance. Their input to helping prevent injuries, saving lives, and thus keeping our insurance rates lower, I think is priceless. So they've done an excellent job. Everything is on the city website. If anybody wants to look at it, they've maintained a website. They have lots of information. The other members who I didn't mention who are on it are David Thompson, Cody Wink, Lisa Peach, and Mike Wagster. And Tammy Palm and Jeff Roberts certainly help with it, as I do. So that will conclude the presentation on the annual report. There is more information because the Public Works Director and the Planning Department also have components. But rather than go over all of that, unless somebody wants to add, it's all in the packet on the website, and people can read it at their leisure.
Thank you, Councilman. We'll move on then. Item 4 is the approval of claims under the consent agenda. Item 5 is special presentations. 5A is an update on the pay-as-you-throw pilot program. Our wastewater operations manager, Epiphany Ramos, will give a report.
Hello, nice to see all of you again. Thanks for having me here. I'm just gonna do a quick, what I'm calling a project status update, kind of almost it ends up to be a quarterly after you kind of take a look at the data. I'm gonna just go over what we did to implement the plan that we talked about, and then talk about some of the neat data that we've been gathering thus far. And we'll also talk about some ideas to make it better. And definitely want to have some, feedback from you guys as we walk through some of these things. And I'll also go over kind of our next steps with our survey and stuff like that. That's all in the agenda packet. Okay, so overall, we felt like the implementation went smoothly. What we did was we had door hangers. We, had some help from volunteers and Green Bellevue folks. To go out and put door hangers. We also had a direct mailer that went out to all of the residents for the optional program. And what we ended up getting was almost everybody signing up to participate. We only had, I think, less than 10% folks opt out. So we went forward with it knowing that we had plenty of participation to gather some good data. So we were really happy about that. We essentially distributed the containers at the end of October, and so the first collection period was that first week in November. We had November for yard waste, and then, yard waste drops off, and so we've had regular collections since then. Overall, we've seen recycling participation of 46%, and participation is just how much that has increased. So what did the area increase in terms of who's recycling and who's not? And we've all agreed that recycling increases equal decreases to the landfill, equal decreases in those solid waste costs, period. And we also saw some benefits to the automated truck program. So we're seeing a decrease in not only the time that it takes to service the households, but also a direct savings in labor, as we talked about before. No longer is there a guy having to jump off, and so it's more easily manned. So we feel like there's literally a 50% reduction in labor since we don't have to have dual people on it. I can jump to some of the straight data in this report too, and then that's the exciting part, and then I'll kind of talk about some of the issues and ideas. So overall, I put in our 2015 total solid waste and recycling report for the entire city there. And as you can see for 2015, our recycling rate, which is our total tonnage, just our recycling against our total tonnage, is 8.3. And then a diversion, which is what we basically keep out of the landfill, is running at about 29%. So that's our baseline. That's what we do. Now in this program, what we noticed and the data that we have here is our recycling rate went up to almost 19%, and our diversion totals were up to almost 50%. So these are really big numbers. We did get some numbers for January in here, and we're seeing that trend up. My thought is when you take into consideration this is a 46% increase in people that have not been recycling, so these are brand new people to recycling. They're still learning how to recycle. So we're actually in January seeing a better rate. I think that will only get better with education with the residents and open communication with them. We are planning some public education at the Sarpy County Earth Day, so hopefully, again, just getting the word out about how do you recycle, what do you recycle, hopefully eliminating some confusion will keep those increases coming. The goal is 25%. I think we can get there. I hope we can get there. But needless to say, those numbers are showing me that the purpose for this is to make sure we keep our costs down, and we're seeing that we should be able to. So, again, it's in its infancy. We're only a few months in. Let's see. let's talk about the issues that we had out of the gate. So we went with what we could afford. We could afford just the one container size. Carol had some great ideas about variable containers. We found that residents liked that idea a lot. They wanted, their option to be able to be a small, medium, and large, or even a large and a small. The number one reason for folks not participating was the size of the containers. We assume that has to do with maybe household size and just waste generated, and not because they were too small, but because they were too big. So we haven't had anybody opt to get additional containers. So we definitely know that the need is being serviced. We are evaluating the option to offer smaller containers. So outside of that, logistical issues were pretty straightforward, and in comparison, what we did was we took all of the issues that we got. So these are people from the area that might call, my trash was missed, some things awry, and we compared that against the overall logistical issues for the rest of the city. And what we found out was these issues seem to be a lot less per the demographic makeup, so how many households we service versus what we're typically seeing out in the rest of the contract service area. We don't have a pinpoint onto why. It might be the containerization of things. It might be the increased inefficiency. Hopefully, as the pilot program goes on, we'll be able to take a look at those issues against the typical issues and maybe start to develop some trends. But that's overarching, I guess. So far has been the biggest feedback. Again, container sizes, and maybe a little bit of confusion about what goes in what container. So we think better labeling on the containers probably would help with some of that. And the things that we are really looking at, so always when I kind of look at progress, I also look at room for improvement. What are some things that are on the horizon that we need to address or we need to talk about addressing? What we do feel is real incentives. So this is a test environment. We're basically, at this point, the incentive is please participate, please be a good citizen. We don't have any financial incentives to the residents to participation or to reduce their waste. It's really just being a good citizen and participating. So we would like to look at incentivizing the program a little bit so that we can gauge true effectiveness of it. We also know that creating a contract scope based on any of this data is going to be a big undertaking. So that's just something that we're wary of over the next year. We do know that any kind of acceptance to a change in the current contract is going to be very difficult for not only residents, but officials and contractors and city personnel. So we're aware of that. Again, we didn't talk about all of the possible solutions that this type of a program that could have, so the variable containers and stuff. So we're looking at more solutions for this pilot area so that we can create a good scope for the contract. And we also know that public education, the more that they're educated, the more that we communicate them, the better off we are. So that's mostly it. We are using a software program, which we like a lot. It's this Waste 360, so that gives us these reports that you see here. Essentially, it puts in the tonnage, and it helps us keep things all in one easy to handle place. Any direct questions about those big things? Okay. So I just attached in the agenda some ideas of what we're using out there in the field so you can see kind of the marketing material. We have a sticker that if somebody's confused about what goes in what container, we try to put a reminder sticker on there. We noticed after servicing your container that you might be using the wrong cart. We haven't really used hardly any of them. This was just an idea of, this is what went on the door hanger to residents. And the exciting thing, the survey that we would like to give to residents. So we want to give residents a survey as soon as possible and just kind of get their feedback. So some of the questions, what's your age, again, helping us to gauge what that household looks like, how many people, and that is more just to find out, what we're servicing here. Are these sizes right? Is this typical? Information, which we feel is a big thing. How informed are you? Would you support it if it went citywide? Do you like your containers? Are you interested in ways to reduce your yard waste? And then just giving them an open opportunity to add comments. So we would like that to go out to residents and get some time to gather that back and maybe come back to council with another quarterly report after we get through some of this yard waste season, and try to implement some of these ideas maybe that we've had. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. Any direct questions, comments?
Councilman Paul?
Thank you,
Cook, excuse me.
Councilman. Epiphany, thanks for coming and giving us this report. I had requested it, and I think the information you gave us was very appropriate and gives me a good idea of how the program's going. A couple of my notes that I had here was, and just going off your notes, was primary reason for not participating was the container being probably too big. And
Too
I
big,
think
yeah.
Councilmember Carol Blood, you have discussed about maybe other sizes. Also, there was, what's the incentive for me to participate? And I would
Right.
think that the big picture would be maybe less landfills being needed, and maybe even a cost reduction at the our driveway of picking up our trash. So I think big picture down the road, there's a lot of wins that could potentially, benefit our community. A couple questions I got or comments I'd like to make is, I was going through your comments from people, I'm assuming calling in, or complaints if some of you had.
Yep.
And it seems like just a lot is maybe I got too many leaves, and I'm putting them in other bags, and are they gonna be picked up?
Yeah. Let me just speak to that real quick before
Okay,
you move on
okay.
to your other ones. So that was, what we saw there was when we started this program, people had already purchased bio bags. So these are things that they've used. I didn't say throw them away. So essentially, we just kind of tried to track how many extra bio bags. What we did see is that tapered off towards the end of the month once people used them. A little bit of confusion, and we do think that yard waste is going to be one of the biggest things to really talk about and resolve. We know that it still costs money to haul, and we know that there's good ways to help manage organic waste on your own property and things like that. So we do hope that with public education, folks will start thinking about different ways to handle it. But we definitely foresee it something that this next yard waste season coming up, we're really going to look hard at.
Sure, thank you. Also, there was like items too big being put out, and I don't know how
Bulk
you
items.
address that, because I realize in your report it says our current contractor doesn't have to pick those up.
Nope.
But the fact is, they were being picked up.
Yeah, that's a
And-
very pointed fact and a bone of contention, my own personal bone of contention. Our ordinance does state that you can't just haul your couch to the curb.
Well, but
Fortunately for us, our hauler has been really great about kind of accepting a lot of things that they shouldn't. What does that mean? Well, I think the ordinance was put there for a reason, and it really is to be fair to our contractor. It does cause a lot of extra labor and cost for them to pick up those bulk items that are pulled down to the curb. And technically, you should be calling ahead to the hauler and stating that you needed a bulk pickup. So I've kind of taken a hard line with it, and unless we want to change the ordinance to support something different or change a contract to support something different, I feel that it's really unfair to our contractor at this point.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just, if you've lived here 20, 30, 40, 50
As
years.
I have.
It's been picked up. And sometimes, when I was reading that list, sometimes it's things that I would carry out. I'm throwing away this chair. So versus I'm moving out, and now I got 3 truckloads out at the end of my driveway. So I can see it both ways. I think the big haul, they need to call someone, or let you said the contractor know. I would assume there's an added expense that then there's a billing to them.
Right.
But I think it is going to be an issue down the
would
road. And I
agree.
think it has to be addressed by us some way.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to leaves, when it comes to where you just don't need that chair no more, I just don't think they're going to call the hauler, and I don't mean our hauler that we use for picking up our trash. I don't think they're just going to call Joe the hauler and say, come and get this, and now here, I'll give you $20 if you take it away. So I'm just saying through
It's
information.
something we gotta address,
We got to address
right.
it some way.
And how I've done it in my department is I essentially have told the contractor to stick with ordinance. It's been a learning curve to them too.
Sure.
But I would say I'm like you, I've been here my whole life, and I'm a culprit as well.
Right.
And I know when I'm hauling that thing down to the curb, I'm going, are they going to take it?
We
Because
do
they
it-
really shouldn't, and we know that. And I think most folks know that at some level, that we just can't pick up everything. But I think what we really need to do is just kind of look at what does enforcement of that ordinance mean? You know, and if we feel like it's not enforceable, is it something that we need to make sure that our contractors are compensated for?
And two more things. On what you're talking about, I think that's a very good point. I don't know if a resident knows if they ask the hauler to do a bulk haul, that they come out probably in a pickup, what that will cost them. That might need to be educated and brought forward
Yeah.
for them to know too.
Maybe put in the fee schedule or something.
And just one last comment was, driving through that neighborhood, it's probably the size of the cans, and you got it, the red, blue, and green. Very, very visible simply driving down the street. So I don't know if people, they're just too many containers now. Before they maybe had a 33-gallon one on the side of the house, and their recyclables in their garage. I don't know, but very noticeable of a lot of cans in front of garages, simply tucked on the side of homes that I don't think we would have seen before. But I don't know how you address that. I mean, it's just, we gave them 3 containers, please use them.
Yeah, probably size.
Yeah.
I think we need to offer an option
Right,
on size.
right. But your report was excellent, and I thanks for coming here and talking to us about it.
Councilman Preister?
Thank you. Epiphany, I appreciate that you have taken the leadership to look at this well in advance, over a year before the contract comes up, so that we have some options, we begin this dialogue as a council, we look at doing things. Just last year, and the World Herald doesn't waste a lot of ink, but for anybody who remembers, this was just last year. The World Herald did front page, 2 full pages, and if you go on the back, it continues with the whole side with all kinds of information trying to point out the importance of recycling and what's happening in the industry. The headline reads, "Nothing's been done since 1992, almost 25 years since we've made any major changes." They went on with the second one, and again, front page, talking about the importance of us being more responsible. About a week later, they went through and did another one, part of it on the front page, and this was a Sunday edition, and then more spread on the back. They followed up, and a couple of days later, said state and cities can do more. And I think that's what you're saying. We can all do it, and Bellevue people respond to a good challenge. So I think we can do more. I think what you're doing is leading the effort. I appreciate that you're doing it. This is a system that's working all over the country in other cities. And yes, the containers are out there. I just came back from Phoenix. They do it there, and you'll see some of the containers on the sides of the houses. They've adapted very well. One of the highest rates of accidents is to trash collectors. They're out there dodging cars all day long, every day. And they're running between cars and picking up cans because they're in a hurry. And then the ones we have in Bellevue, the ones I see in my street, are doing an exceptional job. They go above and beyond. This saves a lot of those workers because you have an automated truck, it picks it up, it dumps it in. Nobody's out there on the street endangering their lives. So the people that I talk to over in Castle Ridge, and I would say I talk to anyway 25% of the people living in the test area personally, in addition to the Green Bellevue volunteers. A couple people who had opted out had a concern about the size. But I would say a good 25% of those people that I talked to all said, "What's taken Bellevue so long? Why aren't we doing this? I put my recycling out, it blows away, and then we got litter all over the neighborhood. It gets wet, and these articles point out, once those papers get wet, they can't be recycled. They go into the truck, they get sorted at the First Star Fiber that sorts and separates everything, but the market doesn't want to buy wet newspapers, wet cardboard, or things that are contaminated. So we get snow in the open green bins. They're just not functioning, and for almost 25 years, that's what we've been relying on. And as the World Herald so aptly pointed out, states and cities can do a lot more, And I think the public will rise to the occasion and help us to do that. I thank you for leading the effort.
Councilwoman Blood.
It's hard to follow that, but I just want to add one small thing. It's a pilot program. We, throughout the decades, have done so many things in Bellevue without testing the water first and then paid the consequences later. We're doing it right. We're listening to the people that are utilizing the bins. And that was the first thing that came up, Paul, at the meeting,
At the town hall.
at the town hall meeting that she and I were both at with that part of the community, is that they're big, they have a beautiful neighborhood, they take a lot of pride in their lawns, and they felt that it would create an eyesore. And I understand that, and we took it seriously, and that's why you do a pilot program. Then you have the data, you have the opinions, you have the information, so you can plan accordingly.
Right.
So the people that are concerned that it's always going to be big bins, it may be, but it may not be, based on what data
Yeah.
is
I think, we
gathered.
were up with some cost funding, how do we do this? So I think it's, like you said, it's a test, and the only way to make sure that it's working is to test it.
Right, and you're doing it well.
It's a little
and-
painful, but I think that's the best thing that we can do, is maybe even take a look at those variable carts and see what it might look like to roll them out, and then get another public consensus. So the best thing that I can do right now is take a survey, try to gauge, because you can't build a whole program around one person. So we have to try to get as much as we can and as many people as happy as we can and get the same outcome, which is trying to keep our solid waste costs down. And so I'd like to do the survey, and if you guys are on board with it, I say let's go. If you got any ideas on how to change it, we can do that. Or if you think we're not asking the right questions, we can do that.
Will you be going door to door then also with it?
We've got a couple different ideas. We want to definitely put out, an automated one, so an emailer. We're also going to mail it with a paid
Return
postage,
envelope.
so they can just return it. And then we'll kind of see what the gauge is, if folks are responsive, and if they're still non-responsive, we may actually have to go door knocking. But
I want to praise
hopefully they'll be
Councilman
pretty
Preister for doing
responsive.
that. That's not his ward. And he went door to door, and I know it's because of his passion for Green Bellevue. I'm assuming it's for his passion for Green Bellevue. The both of you have worked very hard on this project, and you should be commended for it.
Good. Take care, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Epiphany. We move on to item 6, liquor licenses. 6A, the manager application of Zhilong Fan for the Class I liquor license held by Young Long LLC, doing business as Jade Palace, located at 1702 Galvin Road South, Bellevue. Is there a representative? Hello.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Yunnan Fan, and I'm the owner of the J Palace. And I come here just change the manager name on the liquor license. I didn't prepare anything. I don't know what to do. If you have any questions, please free to ask me.
Ms. Van, would you please sign in if you haven't already done so?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. This is a public meeting. If anyone would like to speak for or against the application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. What's the council's wishes? Councilwoman Blood.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve recommendation to the Nebraska Liquor Commission for the manager application of Zilong Fan for the Class I liquor license held by Yun Lung LLC, DBA Jade Palace, located at 1702 Galvin Road South in Bellevue.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Blood, second by Councilman Cook. Please vote. I vote yes. Excuse me.
I will
Sorry,
be
Councilman
abstaining
Modry.
for
Thank
personal
you.
religious reasons.
Please vote. I vote yes.
5 yes votes, 1 abstention.
Thank you,
Motion
ma'am. That's
passes.
it.
All right, thank you.
Item 7, ordinances for adoption. Zoning Lot 8B2, Southdale Addition from BNH to BG for commercial use. The applicant is Big John's Car Wash, location 12709 South 28th Avenue. This is held over from the February 8th, 2016 meeting. The council's wishes.
We did the third reading last time.
No, we did not do the third?
Sabrina, did you do the third reading last time?
I did read it, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve that ordinance 3842.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hanson, second by Councilman Preister. Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
Item 7B, ordinance 3833, amending city council salaries. I don't want to speak long on this subject because I brought forth a lot of points that I'm going to bring up tonight. But I will bring up the issues that I thought were pertinent and germane to this issue for me. We have three options for funding the fire department as I see it. We can increase property taxes, we can increase sales tax, or we could impose a restaurant tax. Additionally, as I said last time, we have Public Works is in dire need of employees. The Bellevue Police Department has a significant cost and lack of personnel that they're going to have to address. The Parks Departments are short on personnel. We have public improvements, roads, parks, pools that we have to deal with as a city. I said before and I'll say again, council is a public service and it's not a job. Young people are running. I ran into a gentleman the other day who is going to, I hope, he said he's going to announce that he's going to be running for a ward seat. This should never be about money or comparable wages. I want the residents of Bellevue to know that I'm willing to take out of my wages to accomplish our city goals. I was elected because I'm a fiscal conservative and to provide a means to better manage the taxpayer resources. If it can't start with us on the council, who can it start with? As I stated 2 weeks ago, I offer the citizens a 27% reduction in our wages to show that at least I am serious about addressing the substantial financial issues that we face as a community for the departments that do so much wonderful work for us.
You need to read it.
Do we need a third reading on this one? Okay, let's let her
My
read
fault,
that.
my fault. I'll let you read it.
He was fired up.
I was fired up.
Ordinance number 3833, an ordinance to amend the salary and compensation of the mayor and city council of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, to repeal ordinance 3560 and to declare an effective date.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Technically, we're supposed to be following Robert's rules, and that would require us to have a motion and a second, and then discussion after that. So if somebody wants to make a motion, and then we can further discuss.
Councilman Preister.
I could make the motion, but what I would like to make for a motion, I want to get a read of. The mayor isn't here, and both of these, I think, are related to both offices. I would offer that we lay this over until the mayor and the administrator are back. If that's your preference, I can make that motion. If it's not your preference, then somebody else will need to make a motion, but I at least offer it.
I discussed this matter with the mayor. She had told me that this is a decision for the council to make, and she would abide by the council's decision.
Thank you.
Councilman Modry.
Thank you. I make a motion that we approve ordinance 3833.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Modry, seconded by Councilman Cook. Discussion. Councilwoman Blood.
I'm going to discuss actually both ordinances since they're basically the same ordinance. I respect the fact that there's so much passion in reference to this issue. One of the things that I've tried to do as a council member in the last 8 years has been to make sure that I create policy that doesn't pertain to my personal circumstances. A really good example would be that I approved council having expense accounts again, after we all know what happened several decades ago to that. I've never personally used it, but I wanted to make sure that it was in place for people that come that might not have the financial advantage to attend certain workshops or to attend certain functions, that it was there because that creates an even playing field, allowing people from all walks of life to come and serve on the council. We eliminated the pre-council meeting, stating that we felt that young people would not come forward to run for council, unless we eliminated that. But now we're saying that young people are still going to run if we devalue the position by lowering the wages. And I feel personally that that's kind of talking out of both sides of our mouths. The raise that was given to the council was done after more than 2 decades. I personally am not in favor of either of these ordinances. I think what needs to be put into place is something that's incremental, something that's put into policy and written into policy. So it's not any one person's soapbox, that then people aren't suspect when it's an election cycle, or people aren't suspect that they're trying to serve themselves and not others. The thing that you hear me say is that if people feel that the compensation of $11,000 a year is too great, we have the option of, I'm sorry, I can't hear, someone's talking in the gallery.
Excuse me, please. Councilwoman Blood has the floor, so please abstain from commenting in the seats, please, or the gallery.
We do have the option of giving the money back to the city that we're given, and I've not seen anybody on the council ever do that. And I don't mean to sound dramatic, but that is an option. That if you feel you're overcompensated, give the money back. I know that I have a long list of things, as I know, I'm looking at John, and I know Dawn, and I can't speak for other council members, but I know I can speak for you two, that we give a lot of financial support to the community, much more than $11,000 a year. And that you can't make laws, you can't make ordinances based on your personal circumstances. I'm not going to be here next year. This won't affect me, but it will affect who comes after me. And the smart thing to do is to have written policy, not to just decide it's time for a decrease or an increase. We had a budget cycle. There are always going to be challenges in the city of Bellevue because of how much we take in taxes, and because we are landlocked, and because we aren't in the middle of the county like Papillion. Papillion gets more tax dollars and can do more, and they have less to pay for. We're always going to be challenged with that, no matter how much economic development we bring in. And I know Rich, who's in here, would be shaking his head right now. We have to make smart policy that lasts a long time. We can't keep doing Band-Aids. When we talk about the fire department, I've been on Public Safety Foundation to raise tens of thousands of dollars for both police and fire. It's a passion for me, but this isn't the solution. We have so many important issues going on in Bellevue right now that we should be that we should be spending our time on. And I feel that our time could be spent better on creating policy and not, and I apologize to both you, increasing or decreasing the council's salary right now. I think that we need to get something in writing. We need to put something into policy. It comes up every time during the budget cycle. That's the responsible thing to do. I'm against making policy for one-time incidents, which is really what that is, because we don't know what the future will hold. So say the cycle is bad again. Next time, do we reduce it another 3,000 and then another 3,000? Who are we to continue to devalue this position? And we are public servants, but at the same token, many people that come and choose to be public servants have to, especially those that own their own businesses, have to take personal income away, and that is a deciding factor. I think if we continue to decrease the income that is made by city council people, you're also going to decrease the quality of the people that you start seeing on this council, because it'll only be people who are retired and can afford to come onto the council.
Councilman Hanson.
Thank you. And it's kind of hard to discuss this one without discussing the other ordinance. So I'm going to, basically, on this side, I would be against making a reduction. I think it's been 7 years since the fact that, 6 or 7 years since they made it from, I think, 7,000 to 11,000. And I think it was brought up here not too long ago that our average age on this council is 62 years old, many of which have had jobs or retired from other jobs and working. But it is really the position. It's not really the individuals there. And we look at a $75 million budget and you make a statement, say, hey, we're going to cut our salaries because You know, and I could see that if the salaries of the employees in the city of Bellevue, if their incomes were cut, but they weren't. There might be that day down the road where somebody is going to look at our budgets and we can't really do it, and that might be something we look at. I think it should be more of an incremental thing, that maybe when we do the biannual budget, we look at the fact of what the average increase is in salaries, if any, to the employees, and look at that on a smaller amount versus jumping 33 or 40% every 7 years, or dropping 40%. So I'm going to vote against both ordinances, and that's where I'm at. So I'm sorry I missed your thunder, Don, but that's great.
Councilman Preister.
Thank you. Well, my thunder wasn't all that loud, probably, or maybe louder than it should have been. But I appreciate this discussion. I appreciate that Councilman Carmichael is saying, we need to do something. We've got a problem. It's one that just comes with growth. It isn't anybody's fault, but we need to pay firefighters, and we need to find a solution to it. I've been suggesting a restaurant tax because I don't know what else is as little pain as that. Property tax is the most painful, so that's probably the last resort. I agree exactly with what Councilman Carmichael said, and I applaud that he's trying to find a solution. But I would agree with Councilman Hanson, in a $75 million budget, 20-some thousand buys a little equipment for extra firefighters, but we got a long ways to go, and I'm confident this year, before the next budget, this council will come up with something. That's my commitment. I'm going to work to that end. In the meantime, I think we should not devalue the position of somebody who is trying to help the transition from a part-time fire department to a full-time fire department. This council, many of us who have been on it, saw that we got a new facility for our police that was in deplorable conditions, again, due to growth. We grow so big, they outgrew the area, but the area with leaking roofs and evidence being compromised, it should have been done years ago. But unless somebody takes the initiative and starts working on getting buildings, and I salute Councilwoman Blood for helping to pursue getting a used building, getting it at less than half the price of what a new facility was estimated to cost 25 years ago, and getting that, but we got a whole campus. So I think a council that's doing that kind of work is what we want to encourage. We want the best qualified people. Lower wages are not going to attract the best qualified necessarily. So what really concerns me is devaluing the position. Government is seen as the enemy by many people. It's seen as somebody who does something to you, and at times that's true. But we are the government. It is of and by the people. People elected us to do their job. If we don't do it well, then they'll get rid of us. So I don't want to devalue the position. I think it needs to be done, as Councilman Hanson and Councilwoman Blood both said. We need incremental. That's what one of the testifiers at the last public hearing said. It should be done when it's 1 or 2%. I'll just do mine, and then I won't have to say
That's
another
fine.
one.
That's fine.
But if you look at the mayor's salary, it will be 20 years since it was increased with when it goes into effect. That's barely 1% a year, barely 1% of an increase. If you go back to the original increase for the council and include that with this increase makes it about 5%, and that seems like a lot, but people will say it's 30%. That's ridiculous. But if you combine the two increases and go all the way back, you're looking at just over 1%. We should do this in the budget. We as a council, in my opinion, should establish a 1 or 2% increase per budget cycle. And then if that doesn't work because the economy is bad, because people don't think it's good, that council can then say, we're not going to do it. And they simply take it out. But right now, to wait till a council or a mayor or anybody else decides to raise the salary, it just doesn't happen until it gets so far out of whack that somebody like me who's foolish enough to present an increase, then people say, oh, that's 30%, that's ridiculous, it shouldn't be done. I think we need to be responsible. I think we need to put something in a policy, I agree, and we need to establish it. And if councils don't want to live by it, they have that authority in the future to do it. But for now, I just don't want to devalue the position, and what I proposed was to try and just be a little ketchup. Thank you. Not mustard, not ketchup that way, but ketchup the salary.
Councilwoman Blood.
I just want to add to that by making it part of the budget cycle, it allows additional input from the community and from the area residents, and that's a positive. And that I hope that all of this passion is still in place when we try and find creative ways to fund the fire department moving forward.
No other questions? I'll call the vote. I vote yes.
Vote is 3-3.
That fails. That fails. Item 7C, ordinance 3843, amending the mayor and the city council salaries. I'll defer, Councilman Preister.
Thank you, Councilman Carmichael, and thank you for trying to address the issue. I think that's the heart of what you said and what you want to do, and I think your heart's in the right place, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I will make the motion to approve ordinance 3845. Wait a minute.
Or 3.
Sabrina, you need to read the ordinance?
Yes,
I need to, yes, please.
And I learned last time.
and then I'll get it right.
Ordinance number 3843, an ordinance to amend the salary and compensation of the mayor and city council of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, to repeal ordinance number 3560 and to declare an effective date.
Councilman Preister.
Thank you. I will make the motion to approve ordinance number 3843. Get it right yet? We don't have a second, then we wouldn't even have a vote, and I don't.
That is correct, so we'll move on then. That dies. Item 8, ordinances for public hearing, second reading. Sabrina, please read ordinance 3844.
Ordinance number 3844, an ordinance to create a new Article 9 in Chapter 28 of the Bellevue Municipal Code dealing with streets and sidewalks, to provide for an arterial street improvement program, or ASIP, for street improvements within the city of Bellevue's zoning jurisdiction, to provide for special funds for designing and constructing such arterial street improvements, to provide for the management and expenditure of such funds, and to specifically provide for certain fees for new residential, commercial, and industrial construction permits, and to provide for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I'd like to just go ahead and read a few things, just to kind of give the public and everybody a little information on what this is.
Thank you.
Okay, the purpose of this, in order to provide adequate, safe, and modern street infrastructure to serve the ongoing growth and economic development of the city of Bellevue, the city finds that an arterial street improvement program, ASIP, is necessary to fund the design and construction of street improvements and appurtenances within the city of Bellevue's zoning jurisdiction. This program will provide a mechanism for collecting, managing, and expending certain funds, as hereinafter more fully described, to pay for the design and construction costs of such street improvements. Street improvement and appurtenances which are identified or proposed to be partially or wholly funded by ASIP shall be designated ASIP fund projects. Some of these fundings are as follows. For all new agriculture construction, including single-family dwellings and buildings for uses permitted in agricultural district, it's a fee of 0.75% of the building permit valuation shall be charged at the time a building permit is issued. For all residential construction, including single-family dwellings, townhomes, and duplexes, a fee of 0.75% of the building permit valuation shall be charged at the time of the building permit. For new mobile home pads, a fee in the amount of $1,000 per unit shall be charged when the site is permitted. For new multifamily residential construction, a fee in the amount of $5,000 per development acre shall be charged when the building permit is issued. For new civic, office, and commercial use type construction, as defined in the City of Bellevue zoning code, a fee in the amount of $5,000 per development acre shall be charged when the building permit is issued. For new industrial construction, a fee in the amount of $1,000 per development acre shall be charged when the building permit is issued. For the purpose of the ASIP, the term development acre shall mean each individual acre of land within the lot or tax lot for which the permit is sought, and specifically shall exclude any land located within the public street right-of-way, dedicated land such as public parks, and any outlots. This was implemented by Sarpy County and has been in effect for 2 years. Papillion and Gretna enacted this a year ago. This has been going on in Omaha and Douglas County for somewhere between 15 and 20 years. And just doing a rough calculation, and based on valuation of a $200,000 home, this would be an additional $1,500 fee. But since 2008, based on records of permits, this would have netted the City of Bellevue between $500,000 and $550,000 per year.
Thank you, Jeff. This is a public meeting. If there's anybody who would like to speak on this issue, please come to the podium. Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Discussion with the council? No discussion? Okay, we will move this on to the third reading, which will be held March 14th. Move on to item 8B, ordinance 3845, the rezoning of lot 81 Kennedy Town Center from BG-PCO to BGH to allow for automotive sales. The application is West Dodge Place LLC, location South 22nd Street and Sauter Avenue. Sabrina, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 3845, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Bellevue, Nebraska, as provided for by Article 3 of ordinance number 3619, by changing the zone classification of land located at or about Sauter Avenue and South 22nd Street, more particularly described in Section 1 of the ordinance, and to provide an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a representative? Yes, there is.
I get up quick and sign. Jason Thielen, E&A Consulting Group. With me as well is Gerald Noble with Olaf Anderson, who's the contractor for the user at this site. We're here before you asking for a change of zone, as read by the clerk. This will be used for a auto dealership going forward, be adjacent to the Baxter. The majority of the property is currently zoned BG, BGH, and so this is one last piece that allows us to consolidate all the lots and bring it into conformance with the same zoning district so we can complete that. This will be a much less intensive use in general to the area than what's currently allowed under the BG zoning district today. As for will be less of an intrusion to the adjacent neighborhood, and it is consistent with the existing uses. Planning Commission, last month we had one neighbor there that was concerned about the lighting. We quickly got our lighting specs to the planning department, and so that the council knows, Corwin, which is the auto group, only has the highest available LED lighting that they use in all their stores across the country that they're doing now, which basically directs that light down directly onto the site instead of illuminating it out, so it reduces the overall spillage either across property lines or up in the air. In addition to from that lighting standpoint, 9, 10 o'clock at night, the perimeter lighting goes off, and it's just interior lighting, and the building lighting stays on for security purposes, so to further reduce any of that light nuisance throughout the night there. In addition to our request for zoning, we also request that maybe the council would waive a third reading and take a vote tonight, as we'd like to continue the process and move forward to getting our building permit. And with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilwoman Blood.
Yes, Acting Mayor Carmichael, I would like to make a motion that we waive the statutory rule regarding readings on 3 different days, and that it be suspended and the vote be taken after the public hearing is held at today's meeting.
Second. A motion and a second. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for or against? Please come to the podium. Oh, I'm sorry. Please vote. I vote yes. It's just
Against it.
5-1.
5-1. Okay, now we have the public hearing. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, sign in first.
Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Sainovich, and I live on the corner of 22nd and Sauter Avenue, which is right across the street from the land that they want to rezone. And that area is known as Kennedy Ridge, and there's a homeowners association, Kennedy Ridge Homeowners Association. And we're concerned, number one was the lighting. And the builders have discussed that problem, and it seems that they worked it out, that they're gonna turn the lighting away from our homes, because our homes will be right across the street from the lots. And that lighting could shine on our homes and keep us awake, or we don't wanna have to have darkening shades in our homes at night to keep the light out. The second problem is Sauter Avenue comes off of 25th Street and goes to 22nd Street and down 22nd Street to Chandler. Well, the problem is, for us, is that there's cluster mailboxes, and they're all on Sauter Street on the south side. Every resident has to cross that street in order to get their mail or put mail out. It's a 90% 55 and older people that live there. And there's 3 or 4 of them that are wheelchair bound, electric wheelchairs that ride that street every day to come and get their mail. The second problem is there's already a car dealership down there, which was Performance. And after they moved in there and started their business, the traffic on Sauter Street grew and grew and grew till it was unbearable. And mainly it wasn't the customers of the dealership, but the employees. So the vice president of the association personally went down there and talked to the management. And they said, yes, they know their employees drive through there. They will speak to them about slowing down. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, but they don't pay any attention to the speed limit. They just fly through there. And one of the reasons is because it's a shortcut. They can bypass the school on 25th and Chandler and bypass the light on 25th and Chandler. So they don't have to slow down. They can just turn Sauter Street, take Sauter Street straight down to 22nd, 22nd Street straight over to Chandler Road without even stopping once till they get to Chandler Road. And so it's like a speeding bypass through there. And I personally called down there and talked to the management, and they said, yes, we will. We'll talk to our employees about telling them to slow down through that neighborhood. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. But after a week or two, they were right back speeding through there. And now they want to put another dealership there, which basically, we don't have a problem with the dealership itself. It's the traffic that we're concerned about, and it's the same traffic problem. The employees of the company, not the customers. The customers drive slow. They test drive cars, they drive slow. But the employees down there at which is now Baxter, because Baxter overtook it, they drag race their cars up and down 22nd Street. Any person can drive that street any day and see tire marks up and down that street. They take those high-performance Dodge cars and trucks, and there's no control there at all. and they just race, and you can hear them all night long. And that is the problem that the homeowner association is worried about the new dealership moving in there.
Okay, sir, with due respect to you, sir, the issues you have brought up, excluding the lighting, have nothing germane to this issue before us today.
No, just the lighting is
Yes.
what they talked about.
Yes, the police department, I know, will handle the issues you've talked about with speeding and drag racing. The mailbox is the United States Postal Service.
Well, I know, but they made us put them on the opposite side. That's where they wanted them, and we actually had to pay for the association actually had to pay for the concrete work and everything to have the mailboxes installed.
I understand, sir, but that, I mean, in respect to the agenda item, those have nothing to do with that agenda item.
And
Councilman Blood?
Sir, what I hear you saying actually pertains to an ordinance that we put into place, I believe in 2010, called a calming neighborhood ordinance. And what that does is you'll get the form, I believe, from Public Works. Is that correct, Jeff? And you'll have your neighborhood association fill it out with all these concerns that you're sharing with us right now. And then what happens is the reason we created this ordinance is because it makes it a team effort. So the neighborhood can work with law enforcement, can work with Public Works, and work with area businesses if necessary to prevent issues like this. So I'm glad that you've brought this forward. Unfortunately, as Councilman Carmichael said, some of it does not pertain, but those that do pertain, please stay after, speak with Jeff Roberts, and again, request the form. It's calming neighborhood ordinance that we put into place for situations like this, so we can take a group approach and correct some of these issues.
okay, a neighborhood ordinance.
It's calming neighborhood ordinance is what it's called.
Okay.
Councilman Preister.
I want to commend you for coming forward and representing the neighborhood association and bringing those concerns. It seems like the lighting issue, and I was going to compliment the developer and the owner for working with the neighborhood to make sure it's both LED lighting, which saves them money, it's good for everybody, and that they're willing to turn the lights off at a reasonable time so it doesn't interfere. It sounds like, and I just want to confirm with you, that that's been remedied
Right.
at this point, so you're okay with that?
And I agree with that. We agree with that.
And the other thing, we're bringing one portion of this development into conformance by changing the zoning. So Councilman Carmichael is right. We're just changing the zoning right now. And so, although you have very legitimate concerns, there are other avenues, as Councilwoman Blood suggested, that we want to help you to deal with that too. So if you see yes, Mr. Roberts will help you, and before the meeting is over, you get together with him, okay?
All right.
And if that doesn't work, but bringing all the players together, and the city, and the businesses, and the residents, I think we can get something done about that, because I would not want to live in an area where that kind of thing is going on. For senior citizens or kids, that kind of excessive traffic, that kind of disregard and disrespect to the neighborhood and the community, the noise, all of that. We as a council, I don't think want that. The police don't want that. It shouldn't be. So I think we can work together. I think we can resolve that. And,
Well, that'd be great.
okay, we'll work on it.
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming.
Is there anyone else who would like to testify at the public hearing? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. This item I'm sorry, Councilwoman Blood?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 3845, rezoning Lot 81 of Kennedy Town Center from BG PCO to BGH to allow for auto sales.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
I'm used to sitting over there, not here. Excuse me. Item number 9, ordinances for first introduction. There is none. Item 10, public hearing on matters other than ordinances. 10A is the 1 and 6 year road plan. Street Superintendent Bobby Riggs is here. Mr. Riggs, please come to the podium.
Good evening, Bobby Riggs, Bellevue Street Department. Before you tonight is the summary packet in the council agenda for the 1 and 6 road and street project program from fiscal years 2016 through 2021. I had prepared a real quick, I think I have a handful of slides, just a summary overview of the package in total before you tonight. So turn this on real quick. So as I said, this is just the cover sheet from the packet that you all received in the agenda before you tonight. This is the map, and I know it's a little bit hard to read. The reason I put this in there, this is the citywide map on all the projects that we're going to be undertaking in those fiscal years from 2016 through 2021. Basically just wanted to put this in there just for a visualization that this is a pretty robust plan that we're covering all parts of the city, identifying and tackling some of the major needs citywide through the program. The package in total is 81 projects and sub-projects. They've been included in and approved in our capital improvement plan from 2015. This summary is in accordance with the approved capital improvement plan. You can see here, this is a yearly breakout of the funding levels for 2016 through 2021. 81 projects totaling roughly $39 million. Just breaking this out, and everyone last year saw something really similar. The percentages really haven't changed. The bulk of the program consists almost 2/3 being resurfacing projects, although that only takes about 32% of the total funding. The other two areas that I've identified are rehab and improvement projects, totaling 16 projects, and reconstruction, which is, although the bulk of the funding, being at 50% of the total package, constitutes about 12% of the summary of the projects in total for the 1 and 6 plan. Fiscal year 2016, we've got 16 projects planned in total, totaling $6.4 million. We'll be handling citywide resurfacing projects, including Harvell Drive and Galvin Road. I have a couple bridge repair projects slated on Harlan Drive and Cornhusker Road. High Meadows Lane, be utilizing some community development block grant funding that we received to do some sidewalk installation east of 42nd Street and design work that we have planned for upcoming projects. The out years, and I have to call your attention, that should be 65 projects planned in total, nearly $33 million. Again, the bulk of that consisting of a lot of resurfacing projects, both on residential and thoroughfares. Reconstruction projects, as listed there, 36th Street, Cape Hart Road planning, Greg Road West, and 25th and Cape Hart area. Along with that, the rehab projects that you see listed on the screen. That's it, and with that, I'll turn this off and turn the projector off and answer any questions you may have.
talk till he calls on me, so.
No resolution. Councilwoman Blood.
Traffic signal communications upgrades.
Yeah, citywide, we've got a lot of sync line issues where the communications that we're using now are essentially 2 and 3 generations old compared to what is currently being used in the field. As of to date, we only have one master controller that we're able to hook up to and at the office. The intent of this project is to improve some sync line communications and get some phone drops installed to be able to communicate with the computers in the office, do some diagnosis, and be able to talk to the computers to the controllers in the field.
So this can make a substantial difference in some of the traffic issues we're having if we're able to use the data correctly.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilman Cook.
Thank you. Mr. Riggs, just a couple comments. I noticed one of the things for the year 2016 is the 25th Street Bridge south of Cape Art Road. Does that include a sidewalk? Because we've had complaints about where kids can't get across.
Yes, I know. I haven't seen the final design plans yet, but I know we've talked, at least initially, about the sidewalks being addressed there. I know that was brought up a couple of years ago.
Sure.
With some of the development going on.
And then it does funnel down to 2-lane. I didn't know if the bridge, and you don't have to answer that. We can talk later, but if it would be a 3-lane bridge to where that road would be able to continue as we get further development south.
I would assume that that's going to be the intent. I believe, Jeff, final design would be through DOR for the box culvert. Is that correct?
Well, we're doing the design in-house, but the final plans will be done by DOR plan specifications. This will be designed to accommodate a 3-lane road plus sidewalks for future expansion.
Thank you. And then, for me, Southwest 36th Street, there's some movement on that. You put in this year, 2016, 36th Street between Highway 370 and Sheridan, engineering and design, then right-of-way. And then 2017, we have 36th Street between Highway 370 and Platteview Road, Phase 2 engineering and design right-of-way. But the third one on 2017 says 36th Street, Highway 370 to Sheridan Road, Phase 1, construction and CE. I don't know what CE is. And year 1, and you know, there's a $8.4 million price tag, of which 6.72, I am assuming would be primarily picked up by the federal government or the state, and possibly a little bit by the county.
Yeah.
So I guess the question would be, has there been discussion that, yes, this looks good and we're going to start moving forward? I know anything can change
Yeah.
year to year.
So this isn't the plan moving forward. Having said that, I know that we've got some preliminary feedback that although this is our plans right now, that we could be seeing this delayed a little bit through the approval process at the state. In all reality, we could see very little movement by the end of even this fiscal year.
Okay.
It's just kind of the reality of where we're at right now.
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Preister.
Thank you. I appreciate Councilman Cook's questions. Mine are along the same line, and I appreciate the leveraging we get with state and federal dollars to do our roads. People want good roads. They like Bellevue partly because we take pretty good care of our roads. And I thank you, Bobby, and the other street employees who don't often get credit. So plowing the snow, repairing the streets, taking care of them is a job that's often thankless, but I send my thanks, and I think the whole council echoes that with me, that we appreciate the good work that goes on. This is what Complete Streets is about, and I appreciate that you're doing it, because the bridge, as it's replaced, having sidewalks, being prepared for future development, will last much longer than if we did a 2-lane bridge with no sidewalks and it doesn't serve the residents in the area. So I commend that the Public Works Department and the streets are looking at that and implementing it. I also just wanted to comment on the sidewalks that you're doing over on, what's the CDBG project?
High Meadows Lane.
High Meadows Lane, thank you. I know that one, but it wasn't coming to me. There's 2 high schools, there's a junior high, there are 2 grade schools that kids walk through that area going both directions continually. And sidewalks over in that area are very important, both to the Catholic schools as well as the public schools. So when we have projects, when we can leverage it with CDBG money, I appreciate that you're doing that and getting those kids safely to those schools in that area. A lot of kids are walking in that area, even though a lot of them are on buses. There just are a lot of kids in the area.
Yeah, and I think our intention is to continue to apply for those funds in years to come, expand that project and eventually complete that whole area out.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone that'd like to speak for or against the 1 and 6 year plan, please come forward.
Pat Shannon, candidate for city council.
Yeah, please sign in.
Okay. We have an open citizen complaint on 28th Avenue. Is this addressed in the 1 to 6 year plan for this citizen?
Mr. Shannon, I think we're a little bit lost at what you're talking about, and it'd probably be easier addressed with Bobby Riggs.
Right.
Mr. Sullivan, you handed me the complaint from the citizen at the January 25th meeting. 28th Avenue floods every year in the winter. There's no storm drains along it. It needs to get fixed. Apparently, this has been a problem for 30 years. So, is this being addressed in the next 6 year plan?
I would again suggest that you talk with Bobby Riggs in regard to that. The council isn't going to be privy to that specific matter.
Okay. I just felt since the complaint came to the council should ensure it's addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no one else, I close the public hearing. Item 10A1, excuse me. 10A1, resolution number 2016-07, approving the 1 and 6 year road plan. May I have a motion? Councilwoman Blood.
Yes, motion to approve.
Second.
Councilwoman Blood, motion to approve. Councilman Preister, second. Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
11A, resolution number 2016-06, amending the master fee schedule to show the increase in the hotel occupation tax and increases in sewer connection fees. Councilman Cook, please.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2016-06,
Second.
and then I'd like to make an amendment. I'd like to make an amendment that we remove the master fee schedule and move it to our next meeting on March 14th.
The sewer connection fee or the master fee schedule?
I'm sorry, I didn't, to remove the sewer connection fee part of this resolution and move it to March 14th.
Can I ask
Well,
why?
Let me just clarify. Assuming that motion would be approved, what we're going to be doing is just approving resolution 2016-06 to approve the hotel occupation tax increase and not the sewer connection fee.
Yes.
And I believe what he's asking for is a separate resolution on the sewer connection fees to come back at the next meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Councilwoman Blood.
What is the reasoning?
I've had council members ask me about questions pertaining to this, the cost, the reason, and just putting it on our agenda, I think they want more information.
So council members have come to you asking for more information?
I've had a council member and I were discussing this, and we feel that we need more information to move forward onto it, with it. And that's why I'm making the motion.
Councilman Preistertz.
Thank you. Just for the record, I waited for the recognition. I would just ask Mr. Roberts or Ms. Ramos, either one, but does this create any problem? I would like to get a response so I can make a better informed decision.
I'm here to answer any questions. If there's any questions pertaining to, why I'm requesting this or what information I'm gathering to make the request, we can take care of it now. We can take care of it via email, FaceTime, anything you'd like, but ask away.
I would like to have a meeting with you.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
So would I.
Sounds good.
Before you leave the microphone, though, I appreciate that you make yourself available. Is the delay for 2 weeks going to be an issue or a concern, or will you have the time to do that, and will that not create any?
I think it's more pertinent that they have their questions answered, and I don't think 2 weeks is going to be that big of a deal.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman, I've got concerns on a couple of different fronts. One, the actual increase, but more importantly, how is this going to impact our development that we are trying to draw into this community? So mine is both a structural issue on the fees and a more broader evaluation of, we've tried so hard to bring clients and developers into this community, and to simply raise a fee just to be like everybody else, I think we have a distinct advantage by having a lower fee in this case. So those are the things I need a couple of weeks to talk about with staff and with the administration, to be quite honest with you, and amongst ourselves.
Agreed, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I just wanted the clarification and the understanding.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the master fee schedule and an amendment to remove the sewer connection fees and replace them with a new resolution at the March 14th meeting.
Yes.
May we have a vote on the amendment? I vote yes.
On the amendment?
Is that the amendment? Yes,
This is on the amendment.
on the amendment. Councilwoman Blood?
For clarification, the amendment is to bring forward a new amendment?
No.
Not to have questions answered? I'm confused now, because what I just heard was to bring forward a new amendment for the fees.
We're going to take the sewer connection fees out of Resolution 2016-06 and move them to a new resolution, which will be on the March 6th or March 14th council schedule.
Thank you for repeating that.
Yes.
All voted yes.
Now we have a motion and a second on amending the master fee schedule to show the increase in the hotel occupation tax. Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
12, current business. 12A, B, C, and D are on the consent agenda. 12E, amending council policy resolution numbers 16 and 17. Councilman Cook.
Thank you. I had communications with Mr. Berlowitz and with Mr. Buckley, and Mr. Berlowitz has asked that a motion be made to continue this to the March 14th meeting. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Please vote. I vote yes.
Who are you saying for second?
Councilman Preister, I believe, did.
Okay. I heard two voices, so.
I heard 4.
The echo.
All voted yes.
12F, approval of the participating provider agreement for the Select Blue Choice product from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska. Council's wishes. Councilman Cook.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve the participating provider agreement with the Select Blue Choice product from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska.
Motion
Second.
by Councilman Cook, second by Councilwoman Blood. Discussion. Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
12G, request permission to seek bids for the code enforcement project. Councilwoman Blood.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Councilwoman Blood, motion approved. Second, Councilman Modry. Discussion? Councilman Preister.
I would just add, usually on those bid motions, we do put the dollar amount, which would be $60,400. So I would just hope that was included in the motion.
You're one ahead.
Oh, my apologies.
That's the wrong one.
Getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
You were correct. Sorry.
Jeff, I'd like to compliment you on bringing this project forth. This is something that's needed to have been done a long time to release those parks employees to do the job that they are intended to do, not mow yards and go pick up trash. So I compliment you on that. So we have a motion and a second. Discussion ended. Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
12H, approval of the low bid from Anderson Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $60,400 for the interior demolition at 1500 Wall Street and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Councilwoman Blood.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the low bid from Anderson Excavating Company in the amount of $60,400 for the interior demolition at 1500 Wall Street and to authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Motion by Councilwoman Blood, second by Councilman Cook. Discussion? Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
Item 12I, approval of the purchase of an Elgin Pelican street sweeper for the street department. Councilwoman Blood.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilwoman Blood, seconded by Councilman Preister. Discussion? Please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
12J, acknowledgement of a personal injury settlement.
This provision's put on your agenda based on some law that was, I guess, recent in law. It would be in the last probably 5 or 6 years ago. There was a case in which there was some, I want to say some people pretty unsettled about a settlement that a city had on a particular matter. And so they wanted, when you hit certain dollar thresholds, that when settlements were done, that there's at least a posting of that settlement on the agenda, and that the city council then acknowledges that settlement. Quite frankly, to me, a bad situation created some bad law, and but nevertheless, we are complying with that law. This settlement agreement is controlled to some extent, or a lot of extent, by our insurance company. Insurance company wanted to settle at this amount, and we are just simply acknowledging it, so we need a motion to acknowledge.
Councilwoman Blood.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
Councilwoman Blood motion, Councilman Preister second. Discussion, please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.
12K, approval of the amended and restated interlocal agreement between the city, Sarpy County, the Papio, Missouri River Natural Resource District, and SIDS 171, 186, and 215 for a trail project. Councilman Cook.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended and restated interlocal agreement between the city, Sarpy County, the PMRNRD, and SIDS 171, 186, and 215 for the trail project.
Second.
With that motion, do you want that paid out of the park fund?
Yes, and it will be paid out of the park fund.
We have a motion by Councilman Cook, second by Councilman Preister. Discussion? Councilman Modry.
Thank you. Understand this is, was not in the city budget, is that correct? At the budget we just passed in September. So it's $296,000 from the park fund, unbudgeted. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Please vote. I vote yes.
Vote is 5-1.
Item 13, the city administrator's report. Comments must be limited to the items on the current city administrator's report.
Mr. Berlowitz is away at the league conference. However, I or any of the directors would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. To item 14, public request to be heard. Any member of the public addressing the council shall abide by the council policy resolution number 35 regarding principles of conduct and decorum, which states any statements made during city council meetings by the mayor, members of the city council, city officials, and employees or members of the general public shall not involve personal, impertinent, or slanderous attacks on individuals, regardless of whether the individual so attacked is an elected official, a city official, or employee, or a member of the general public, in the City Code Section 2-68 regarding manner of addressing the council. Copies of the aforementioned rules are posted outside the council chambers. Speakers shall limit their presentations to 5 minutes. And please sign in when you come to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, Chuck Frederick, 1511 Madison Street. Last meeting, when I spoke, one of the council people said that I gave some misinformation. And so I'm going to give you some facts that is not misinformation. Number one, the mill levy. We have one of the highest mill levies in the state. We have pools that have not been kept up to date. They should have been done 6-8 years ago, and we're failing in that. Our splash pads, we're just getting around to getting splash pads now. It's taken other cities much faster to get them. Our library, we don't have the second library yet, the new one that we should have on 36th Street. And these are all items that where people, businesses, and families would be attracted to come to our city. And they're not doing it because we don't have those amenities. Another fact is that I talked about the balance sheet for over at least 2 to 3 years to do a monthly balance sheet. As I've talked about before, Papillion could give me one any day of the week. I will go up there. Council Bluffs, back a couple years back, I talked to the finance director there. He was just brand new, as maybe 3 years ago. And first thing he did was start a monthly balance sheet. They didn't do one there. I called Seward, Nebraska, back a couple years back also, and that's where Mr. Burlitz was the city administrator. And I talked to the finance people there, and I asked them about a monthly balance sheet. And they do one. They've been doing one for 25 years, and they said the auditors recommended they do a monthly balance sheet. So that brings us on to the auditor. I've been asking a fact for the state auditor to come down and do and give us an audit. We could have done it free, or at least no more charge than what we had our 5-year auditing firm do it. We should only have an auditing firm for 2 or 3 years, not a 5-year contract. When the representative was down here a couple years back or last year back, I asked her. I said, maybe why don't you do a monthly balance sheet? And she said, well, maybe we should. That's been the end of it. We have no bond rating. You look at Papillion, what their bond rating is and how their bond, I've talked about that large position where it could have been eliminated to reduce some salaries. And I talked about that before. Now, if you're not going to reduce it, maybe it's too late now, I don't know. But if you're not going to reduce that large position, surely hope you get somebody in here who has business experience and finance experience. Somebody who can maybe help the city as far as for their financial situation. The bridge, I've talked about the bridge at Fort Crook and 370. The state conned us. They gave us some money and gave us a bridge, not anywhere near enough money. Anything we could do to get that bridge, give that bridge back to them would be really a blessing, and it would save us a lot of money. I've talked about having a full-time attorney. That's a fact. My opinion is we would be better off having a full-time attorney. The other thing that I talked about is the rescue squad billing. And I've mentioned it's a fact as far as I'm concerned that we've lost at least $1 million by not having Pat Shannon and the Cashville Building continue doing it. They were getting $70,000 a month. Now I don't know what we're getting now. You look at the financials, I can't even find where the rescue squad building is located now. So there's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of things I've talked about, and I just certainly wish that you would take some action in some of these things, because our city is dying. You know, the people are moving out, businesses are not coming here, and even though we brag about it, it's not happening that way. And that's why we don't have the tax revenues. We need more businesses to come in. We need families to come in here. We have to give them the amenities that they want so they will come here. It's not that difficult. So I thank you very much for your time.
Harvey Wiltsey, 211 Mart Drive. And on a good note, I was pleased with your decision not to go ahead with the increase that was proposed at the last session, and I think that's a step in the right direction. I don't know where the 30%, that's the number I came up with, Mr. Priest has cited. I don't think you do this every 5 years or every 10 years. I think you do it on a yearly basis. And I hope you do that. I think that's the right decision. You sit down and talk about what you want to do. Like I said before, I've done 40 years of this with HRs, and all my clients do that. They sit down and they review everybody, the bargaining unit people, their administrators, the school board, or the city administrator. As a matter of fact, I just talked to one of the city administrators today about that. But that would be fine. I'd like to see that happen here. One caveat, I heard somebody talk about building into the budget 1% for a year. You don't want to do that. You start every year fresh, and you don't build anything into the budget. You look at the situation and decide what you want to do. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing. Councilman Preister?
Because a couple things were mentioned that are on the agenda, I do have a right to comment, and I will. So I exercise that right. The reason that we don't comment on public comments is because they're not on the agenda, and we want the public to know what's on the agenda so they're well informed. We have heard repeatedly that we are not in good financial condition, and one of the caveats is that we have not had a monthly balance sheet. A monthly balance sheet gives very limited information. To say that all of the information that we get is not enough, that what we're already currently getting is somehow not giving the council enough information, or the mayor, is simply not right. We have access to all that information. We have looked at it. We have a professional auditing accounting firm that uses government standards and audits our books on a regular basis and does it in an objective way. And they have determined and brought it all in public periods of comment and opportunities for such comment before us. I think that those comments are not part of free speech. I think they're slanderous to our finance director, and there are two parts of free speech that are protected. One, you can't defame somebody, and two, you can't incite. And I think this raises to that level when it's done consistently and when it's done time after time, over and over, because someone doesn't get the outcome that they want. All of those things, all of that information, the council can raise if the council felt it was important. The mayor, as the chief administrator, could do the same. However, our finance director and our finance department does an excellent job. If they weren't doing that, we would not have reduced the $5 million that we were in the hole a few years back. Yes, we have some things that we still have to do, but we have been cut back federally, we've been cut back locally, and while all that happened, we got caught up, and except for the fire department, which we were required to do, we're in pretty good financial shape. Our budget is balanced, our finance director has monitored it, and we're in good shape. And I just want the public at home to know that despite things to the contrary, the city of Bellevue is financially very stable.
You're here.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna go to no executive session. Item 16, adjournment. Councilwoman Blood.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Blood, second by Councilman Preister. Discussion, please vote. I vote yes.
All voted yes.